Good morning, good morning, good morning, everybody. Listen, welcome to the Friday edition of Good Morning Gwinnett. I'm your host, Audrey Bell Kearney, and I got my guest here today, Miss Renee McCalla-Taylor. Yeah, I know I'm supposed to be off today. I know. But here's the thing. I have decided that I wanted to make sure that I included video. And I've tried to do this on other occasions by actually, breaking up my Thursday episode and bringing on a guest because part of that is audio, part of that is visual. Too much. So instead of taking Fridays off like I normally do, I've done for the last 3 years, I decided to make this show a live show on Friday. So this is the first episode of Power Players, and this is my guest today, and I'm excited about that. And I have people lined up already, so this is a good thing because there are a lot of power players out there, and I love talking to them. So it's a good thing that I did decide to do this show. So it's streamed live right now. We're streaming live on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitter, and Roku. So if you got a Roku device in your house, go to Roku, add Noise Podcast and that Noise Media Network, and you can watch the show live right now on Roku. So that's the great thing about it as well. So without further ado, I would like to welcome my guest, Miss Renee McCalla-Taylor. She is the founder of Jamrock Holdings as well as 4C Capital, which I'm excited about. They're two companies dealing in money. So welcome, Miss Taylor.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. Good morning.
You're very welcome. So, you're in the space of investing, and I thought this would be a good way to kick off the Power Player segment because, there are a lot of companies out there. There's a lot of money floating around in crypto and all these different places, and people want to know how can I sell my company, how can I buy a company, how can I start a company, all of these great things. But I don't think a lot of them understand exactly what that means. So before we jump into exactly what it is you do, give us a little background about who you are and how you got to the great county of Gwinnett.
Yeah, absolutely. So, as far as background is concerned, I'm originally from Jamaica. Been living in the States for oh gosh, quite a few years, long period of time. Um, Leaving Jamaica, grew up in South Florida, and from there, went to the University of Central Florida. Got my bachelor's and master's in speech language pathology. And from that point, I decided to work as a speech language pathologist in the school system for about 10 years. And then I got the entrepreneurial bug, became CEO of a therapy staffing firm that I ran for over 12 years. Had a tremendous amount of fun doing that. Learned tremendously a lot, as being an entrepreneur and operator and running a company. And was during that time interacting with entrepreneurs and operators, and there was always one key issue, was always centered around capital and access to capital and money. And also, what are they going to do after they sell, exit their company. So that transition was conversation that I heard quite often. What do they do? And at that point, and it was one of those things where a light bulb went off in my head, and I said, wow, this is interesting. This is a theme that I hear happening all the time, is that entrepreneurs, they're needing to have access to money, and they've built up their companies really well, and then what do you do at that point? How do you exit? So I decided to call a really good friend of mine, and actually a mentor. And we decided to pool our resources together and started 4C Capital. And so that's what I do now. I'm in the private equity um, investment space. We buy and acquire companies, helping the existing entrepreneurs exit, looking for capital to grow, to continue what they're doing. Because at some point, you realize that you would need a fresh pair of eyes. You've grown this company to a really good size, but you need a partner to come in and help you to get to the next level, and that entails capital. So that's what we'll do. We'll come in, we'll partner with the owner and existing management team, help them to scale the business further. Or if there's a particular entrepreneur out there that they want to grow their business, but they see the opportunity to grow through acquisitions, then that's where we'll come in and partner with them and help them to grow through that vehicle as well.
So I want to back up for a second because I know there's so many aspects to investing in companies and so many ways to do that. Let's talk about the difference between a VC firm, and an angel investor. So can you kind of just tell people what's the difference between those type of investors?
Yeah. So, and just to be clear, I'm not on the VC or the angel investor side. I'm on the private equity side, where we invest in the mature companies that are already generating substantial amount of revenue, and very healthy bottom line numbers. Whereas VCs and angel investors tend to invest more in startups. So they're the ones that put the money behind the company that is just starting, and they're hoping that investment will take the business to a further level, to where it becomes a mega company. So we're a little bit different. We don't do anything in the startup phase. So any company that's just starting up, that's just not where we do what we do very, very well. We stay on the more mature private equity investing side of things.
Okay, cool. So that's good to know. So again, you see, there are so many ways to acquire the capital that you need, but you need to know who you're talking to in that space. So a private equity investor is not an angel investor, and an angel investor is not a VC. So you got to know all that. I got to tell you a quick story. So long time ago, like 1999, I invented. I'm an inventor. So my partner and I, she's my business partner, one of my best friends. We invented the first plus size fashion doll, and we were looking for investment, and we didn't know
Okay.
anything about investment. So we spent a year on Wall Street talking to all kinds of investors. So by the time we got finished talking to all of these different investors and learning all this stuff, when we actually got a chance to sit down to the table with an investor who he said he was an angel, which he probably could have been. But by the time we sat down to the table, Renee, we knew enough about investing to know that the deal he was trying to offer us was one that sucked. And we were
Okay.
like, no, thank you. And but it was because we spent the year talking to investors. So what should small businesses what do they need to know when before even approaching somebody talking about an investment? Because we didn't know what we didn't know. So we just talked to everybody. We just spent it was like I lived in Jersey, but I spent the year on Wall Street talking to one investor after the next. And I remember talking to this one investment group. It was a whole group of men, and we were in this room, and we were trying to pitch our concept. And the guy said, this is a great concept. It's never been done before, but that's the problem. You haven't proven a market for it yet. We were like, yeah, but it's a market for it. So we didn't sell him on that. He thought the concept was good, but he didn't buy the fact that it was so new that there wasn't a market yet. So when someone is thinking about approaching an investor about investing in their company, especially on the private equity side like you are, what should they be doing? What should they have in place before they even come to you?
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously, you got to do your due diligence. You have to do your research. You have to understand, who are you targeting? Who do you want to talk to? And specifically, certain private equity and investment firms, they have certain industries that they tend to invest in. So you got to understand that. I mean, if you are in the healthcare industry, you got to make sure you're talking to an investor that invests in healthcare, and not an investor just that mainly just invests in like manufacturing or other industries. So you have to definitely do your diligence. You got to do your homework there. That's very, very key, and that's a mistake I see a lot of entrepreneurs they make when they're looking for access to capital. So you have to really understand that, and also too, you really have to have a different mindset, because when you're looking for capital, especially on the private equity side, we're looking for an entrepreneur that's very mature in their mindset in terms of what they're wanting to achieve. They've got to be passionate about the business. They've got to be very energetic. They've got to do well with leadership and working with people. So, those are the type of characteristics that we look for. Someone that's very charismatic, very, very important. You got to understand your industry. I can't say that enough. You really have to understand your industry, your product, your competitors, really understanding that the market. Those are key basic things that are really, really important when you sit down and you want to have these conversations, because these are conversations and questions that we're going to really ask. So, and more than anything else, I will really say we're backing that person. So you've got to present very, very well and understand your market and understanding what which direction you want to go. We can help shore up a lot of things from that side, but you really have to understand the business and understand it very, very well. So I would say those are some very key important items that any entrepreneur, anyone that's looking for any type of investments, really need to focus on.
It's so funny because I think about a lot of entrepreneurs and I talk to a lot of them. I've been doing this for so long, and I get a chance to talk to a lot of them. And most of them would tell you, I'm spending so much time working in my business, I don't have time to learn about what's happening in my industry. Now, me personally, I find that to be not my case because I'm always in my industry. Like I get 5, 6 different newsletters. So I try to tell them, listen, subscribe to the newsletter. So if you don't have time to do the research, at least the research is coming directly to your inbox. So that's really important. That's how you stay on top of stuff, especially when you're busy. Because at some point in the day, there's a minute where you can stop and take a look and see, okay, the newsletter came through. Let me read. Let me see what's going on with Spotify. Let me see. Let me see what Spotify, what podcast network Spotify done bought today. So that's important. So
yeah, and I think being I want to add something to, but also being very intentional about that, because that's very, very key. And also do understand, and this is where the maturity level comes in. I mean, it's great for all of us to own 100% of our companies, but if you're having a partner to come in and to invest all these millions of dollars behind your company, you have to understand you're not no longer going to own 100%. So would you rather own 100% of, I don't know, a $100,000 company, or would you rather own, say, 30, 40, 50% of $100 million company? So I think sometimes we get hung up that, oh, I own 100% of my company, but if you're owning 100% and you're not growing, that's a problem. So if you're able to get capital behind you, and even if you're owning less than 100%, you know, you're creating a lot more value for yourself and a lot more value for your investors. And that's a mindset. And that's why I said the maturity level, you have to have a different mindset when are looking to bring on a partner to invest behind you and invest in your company, invest in your product or your services. You really have to think about that. So I wanted to add that because I noticed that that's an issue that occurs often. And I want to just, point that out, that's important to just really understand that piece.
I watch Shark Tank all the time, and there have been deals on Shark Tank that I would have jumped at because of who I was going to be, do the deal with. And there are people who are like, no, I'm not giving up that amount of money. And I'm like, that amount of equity. I'm like, are you nuts? Because if you give it up, you're going to get it back. So I totally agree with you. And my husband laughs at me because we watch it together. And I'm like, I would have taken that deal in a New York minute. So, you're right about that. Now talk about that for a second, because I think a lot of people don't understand the fact that, yes, I have to give up something, but you're not giving up your entire company. What's a good amount of equity for a company to actually give up?
I mean, it really depends. There's not a magic number. It's really what you're comfortable with, because at the end of the day, I mean, you have to negotiate, right? You have to negotiate what it is, what your value standpoint is. They're going to do the same. So it's about coming together and having a common ground. So I wouldn't say there is any magical number per se. It's really, I mean, you definitely want to retain equity as much as you can, but there's no such magic number. It's really just try to negotiate as much as possible. Understand your value, what you're bringing to the table too. I mean, and the other side is going to really understand that. And that's also another reason why you really want to pick the right partners, because you want to pick a partner where the personalities match and vibe. And that's so important to make a decision, because I mean, you're going to be in bed with these guys or these gals for what, 4 or 5 years. So that's really important to really be able to also understand the people that you're going to be working with, and making sure you guys can vibe and connect together. And as long as you can do that, they understand. They're not going to try and beat you over the head. It's about everyone having a win-win situation.
There's a lot of resources out there for women in business, and a lot of times when you look at the criteria, one of the criteria is that you must be 51% owned, so by a woman, to be able to qualify for some of these criteria. when it comes to women giving up equity in their company, because we know that a lot of times we don't get the, especially African American women, we don't get the same opportunities for investments as most. And so would you say in that particular case, if someone came to you as an African American or minority woman in business, hey, we want to, we want to support what you're doing, but we want, 48%, and that person know they need that money to expand, to scale their business. Would you say that would be a good deal, or that just depends on the circumstances of the deal?
It depends on the circumstances of the deal. I mean, it really does. There's so many factors that really contribute to it. So it's hard for me to really say a particular number. But I do know, like, certain organizations, National Minority Supply Development Council, which is an organization that connects minority-owned companies to do business with corporations. The same with WeBank, that do the same thing. Women-owned companies that do business with corporations. And so they are putting some language in place, and I believe they've already done so, where if you're not owning the company 51%, but if you're running it day to day and you're a minority or woman owned, then there's language there to help you to keep that status. So because that's always been the issue, because the access to capital is normally on the other side. And how do you retain that designation if the capital is coming from the other side? So they're becoming very creative now, because to have this access to grow your company, you have to have the dollars. So those types of creative structures are now being put in place to help minority and women owned to keep their minority and women owned status.
So you said when you guys decide to work with a company, you're looking for certain things. So they have to be a certain level in the business. What can we go through that again? Like, what are you looking for when you're looking for a company? Certain industries, certain revenue growth forecast, things like that. Can you just tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so I could tell you from my perspective, from 4C Capital, what we invest in. As I mentioned before, I mean, we look at investing on the business on the mature side.
Mm-hmm.
So, for us, is having at least 2 million in profitability at the bottom line is what we say, and what we invest in. And that may seem um, uh, like a lot. But there's different segments of investment firms, what their criteria is. But for us, I mean, we look at backing a team, looking at the team that's in place, how credible the team that's running the company day to day. And even if you have a company, you just have, I would say, just one person, maybe a manager or something. You don't have to have a full-fledged team. But you're needing to build on that team, and that's where capital can come in. We will help to come in and build that infrastructure is needed. But we see that the CEO that is pretty strong. They got a number one or number two person that's there, that's helping them to grow the company. I mean, those are things we look for. We're not looking for a perfect company, but just having the team there is very, very helpful. Number two is really the industry. Is there growth happening in that industry?
Mm-hmm.
And that's where I say you really have to understand your industry, what's happening there, being able to articulate that. And so that's one of the things that's in diligence we're going to, look at. I think I'm getting a little bit of background noise here. Does it sound too bad? I don't know.
I don't even hear it. I can't
Okay,
even hear
perfect.
it.
Okay. But anyway, yeah, it's really the industry. If there's growth in the industry, that's going to be a key area. Is really knowing that there's going to be an opportunity. There's growth that's going on in that industry for us to invest in. Very, very important there to really understand that. And the end of the day, and like I said initially before, is we're backing people. So the team, the CEO, the owner of the company, what are they made of? What's their moral fiber? How are they with people? Are they
Mm-hmm.
charismatic? Are they, energetic? And
Right.
the person that's needed to run that company. So we look at those very important um, things. And I would say those are the things that we really focus on. to really decide for us, is this a really good company to invest in?
A lot of times, one of the things that a lot of people want to invest in is the tech space. Is the tech space a space that you guys invest in? Because I know a lot of money floats around tech. Like right now, everything is about NFTs and crypto and cybersecurity and all these great things. And a lot of times, smaller businesses in other industries kind of get shut out because they don't look at them as being sexy or that they can actually scale beyond a certain point. When people look at tech, everybody think tech can scale. So are there specific industries that you like over others?
You know what? For us, at 4C Capital, we invest particularly in healthcare. We love healthcare. Healthcare is a really great industry. If you understand it, there's a lot of growth, obviously, in healthcare. The baby boom generation. Healthcare is being put into the consumer's hands now. So there's a lot of growth that happens in health. So we like the healthcare space. Anything in manufacturing is a good industry that we like to invest in. So manufacturing, anything in the business service space, business to business kind of companies is what we like to invest in back. And that it goes back to, like you said, like I mentioned before, the investment firm, what are the industries that they particularly invest in? Because you have certain investment firms that only look at tech.
Right.
That's their sweet spot. So if you've got a technology based company, you want to look at those investors that invest in that. You want to your companies in manufacturing, healthcare. I mean, we're an option. So it's really understanding um, you know who's out there, what industries that they invest in. And there's some investors that they're pretty industry agnostic, meaning they invest in anything. Um, but it's always great to have partners who understand your space. I always say that if they understand your space, it's great to have them as partners, because they've been there. They likely have grown a numerous amount of companies in that space, and it's a pretty comfortable place, I would say, to be if I was on the other side.
Yeah. It's so funny. I was thinking about something as you was talking. In 2015, I went through an incubator, well, not an incubator, an accelerator downtown Atlanta. It's called Launchpad. And I remember that was my first time going through an accelerator. And I thought I'm like, okay, this is great. And I remember the woman, her name is Bernie Dixon. She was the one who started Launchpad. And she started to get us to talk about, what we wanted and what were our goals and things like that. And so she started throwing out terms that I had never heard before. Now, remember, I spent a year on Wall Street walking around trying to get an investor, but I had never heard of a term sheet. And I think what was really funny for me was when I actually, she was like, well, we're going to get you to the point where your mindset is about, trying to get to 200 million. It was hilarious because in my mind, I was thinking in 2015, I'm trying to figure out how to get it to 250,000. And I said that out loud and the room just went crazy. They were laughing. But in my mind, I'm like, 200 million? I'm trying to figure out how to get to 250,000 right now. But it stretched my thinking. So I set out that to ask you this question. Do you think that, we should be going through accelerators before we even get to the point where we're approaching anybody, any kind of investor about investing in our companies? Because I feel like the accelerator gave me the opportunity to pitch my business in front of a bunch of um, older white guys who did not know what the heck I was talking about. And I had to kind of educate them about what I was doing, which was good because, they did not know the industry. They did not know, and I did. So that was great. Do you think that that's something that we should actually, say, what, we need to go through this accelerator first to make sure we are compliant or to make sure what we're trying to do and ask for, we're on point with that?
Absolutely. Any kind of support from that standpoint you can find, I would say, to definitely do that, because at the end of the day, as what I mentioned earlier, it's about the mindset. Because you're gonna have to be a different person to grow a $250,000 company. That has to be a different person that's going to grow, say, a $20 million company. So you have to grow to that, and any kind of support, any groups that you can be a part of to even interact with other entrepreneurs that are on that same level, and to build your thinking and to stretch that, you're definitely gonna need to do that to grow a much larger scale company. So I would say definitely so. Yes, 100%.
Yeah, because that changed my perspective on everything I was doing. I was, at that point, I had been an entrepreneur probably 20 years, but still, just to sit in a room with millionaires, and I think she was a billionaire because she had a jet. She's like, "Yeah, my husband live on this state, and I live on this state. We just jump on the jet and fly back and forth." I'm like, "Hey, she's a billionaire," but to even have that kind of mindset, it kind of shifted the way I started to think about things to the point where I was like, okay, I see what she's saying. And the accelerator was, I'm talking about it was like a 4-day accelerator, and we packed, and it was long days, and we packed so much into that day that I'm never going to ever forget that. And I'm going to always be thankful to her for even taking the time to do that, because she didn't have to, but she came from Hewlett Packard, so she had ran some of the largest companies in the world, and um, what's her name? Carolina Farina was her best friend, and things like that she shared. But she also shared like what we need to look out for as women in business, especially as we move up the ladder in business. So that's really interesting. I want to shift gears for a second. I wanted, because we talked a lot about how to get investments and what you should be doing and who you're looking for. What happens when someone wants to sell their business? They feel like, I'm ready to leave the business. I want to do something else. I want to sell it. What should they be looking for in selling their business? What should they be doing? What kind of preparation should they be making to actually sell a business? And what's interesting to an investor to even acquire a business?
So if you hear any background noise, just let me know, and I'll just kind of move in a different direction.
So far, it's
Um,
good. I don't hear anything.
okay, so I would say you definitely have to have a handle on the financial piece. More than anything, I would say is you really got to know your numbers. You I can't stress that enough. You really and that's the area where a lot of entrepreneurs lack in, is really understanding your numbers, what's going in, what's coming out. Really understanding where you are, because that's how you're going to be able to make the decisions necessary. Um, so we like to see numbers together. That's important information, and that's why a lot of entrepreneurs, when they're selling their company, will go to a broker or an investment banker, and they'll package all of that and prepare it, because those are very important pieces of information that us on this side, an investor on this side, is going to need to have access to determine and to make a decision if we're going to make an investment. So if you're going and trying to sell your company, and you don't have that information, not to say that you won't get an investment, but it's going to be a little bit more challenging. So you want to make sure you have a real good pulse on the financial piece of your business to a T. I
Mhm.
can't stress that enough.
I think a lot of times small businesses, we don't, I think about when I first started. When I first started my business, I was working at a Jewish family service agency, right? And it was a close, small company. So I got a chance to sit with the CFO, and he was really cool. So I used to go sit in his office all the time, but I learned what he was doing because I sat with him all the time. His name was Bruce. I sat with Bruce all the time, and I looked at what he did. So I kind of got to look behind the curtain somewhat, to see how they ran that agency. And it was a multi-million-dollar agency that supported Jewish people. And so I got a chance to see that. But for most small businesses, they don't get a chance to even, when they start, I have an idea. Somebody told me to register LLC, and I'm gonna just take it. I'm gonna run with it. Should they have a CFO on staff, or should they have a bookkeeper, or how should they be managing their books to make sure that they can even go to the bank and say, "Hey, package it so I can sell it"?
Yeah, I mean, to really have a CFO early on is really, really tough. I mean, typically you have much larger scale companies that bring in a CFO. I mean, even some companies that we look at right now that are generating 20, 30, $40 million in revenue, they don't have a CFO on board. They may have a controller. And sometimes they don't even have that. So, um, I would just say to definitely have a bookkeeper. I mean, that's probably the easiest to have, is to really have the bookkeeper there. QuickBooks does a really good job also of keeping the
Mhm.
financials intact. And you can, give that information to the bookkeeper, and she can then put what you need together so you understand what's going on with your financials.
Mhm.
And if you can, secondly, from that point on, is if you can hire a CPA to come in, that's doing your financials on a monthly basis, that's even great as well. So the lean piece of it, I would say, bookkeeper at least, if you can. If not, definitely have some kind of QuickBooks. QuickBooks is excellent for small business in terms of keeping their data, financial information in place. It just keeps everything in place. So you want to have some kind of financial metrics, some kind of tool like QuickBooks in place. And if you don't have, if and from that point, if you can get a bookkeeper and then migrate into having a CPA, and as you grow and become a larger outfit, and oftentimes that's one of the things we do when we acquire a company. We'll go in and there's no CFO there. They may not have a controller, but that's one of the things we'll do is we'll collaborate with the existing entrepreneur owners in the team and bring one in place, so that they can help to shore up the financial piece of the business, so that we're able to make decisions moving forward as we think about growing. So that's a very important piece of that.
What's cool about QuickBooks is even if you are a solo shop, you can get QuickBooks Mobile, and I think I pay $4.99 to access that on my phone, because most of what I do is on my phone anyway. Like even when I'm out and I'm doing anything, I can access all my PayPal, my Stripe, my Square, all from my phone, and so it's great. The mobile version of that is wonderful. So if you don't
Yeah,
have it, and it comes right through my App Center. So Apple bills me every month for QuickBooks Mobile. So it's perfect. So if you don't have that, at least
absolutely,
get that into place. So now, can you tell
absolutely.
us a little bit about some of the companies that you have invested in or have acquired?
Yeah. So, um, over the course, so I've 4C Capital has been around since 2013. So we've invested in 4 platform companies. Um, that's
What's a
IGeneX.
platform company?
So it's a company. It's a shell. Well, it's a company that we consider is our basic investment. So it's a platform that we may build upon by doing like add-on acquisitions. So you buy one company, and then you'll do an add-on to grow that. So you're buying, let's say, your competitor to make your existing platform larger, or you're
Mm.
buying a complementary business that will help it to grow further. So that's what we call it. That's the base. That company is the platform that we are going to sit on. And one of our strategies, depending on you know the investment um, decision or criteria, is to grow through acquisition. So we will buy other companies to, like as I just mentioned, to grow it bigger, or to grow into other geographic areas. Because sometimes doing it, you know, I'm thinking about a word I'm missing here. It just, from that standpoint, it just to grow through acquisition can make things a little bit more efficient, should I say. And so we have 2 laboratory testing companies: IGeneX, Insight Medical Genetics, um, and then 2 manufacturing companies, Stride Tool and Chicago Switchboard. We exited Stride Tool earlier this year, and then we've done a number of add-on acquisitions as well, to make a few of our companies to grow. So that's our current investments. We're looking for more companies to definitely to invest in. As I mentioned, healthcare, manufacturing, business services. Those are the key areas under the 4C Capital um, uh, area that we make investments in.
So what's the difference between Jamrock and 4C Capital? Because I see you're the founder, co-founder of both. So what's the difference between the two?
Yeah, so what Jamrock Holding gives the opportunity to do is to invest in companies outside of 4C Capital. So 4C, I mean, as I mentioned, we look to at least have $2 million in profitability to make investments in.
Mm.
Jamrock is a separate entity that I created that gives me the ability to invest in companies that are um, less than that. So, and in any industry. So it's my own investment vehicles for companies that I like, based on the criteria that I just mentioned, that I want to make some investments in. So that's the only difference.
Okay. So here in Gwinnett County, the rowing, that rowing have you heard of rowing already? The rowing project.
Um, Familiarize me. I'm not sure if I
So
heard of
rowing
it.
is that big project that they're going to be doing over here off of 316 in Decula, between Decula and Lawrenceville and Brazelton. It's huge. Like, they bought all the land over there, so they're going to be building out something that looks like Research Triangle. And so I was on one of the calls with them saying, to talk about, it was almost like a focus group, but to talk about what do you want to see over there. One of the big things is biomedicine. So if you have not heard of that, I think you should reach out to them, because that is a huge 100-year project.
Oh,
I was
interesting.
like 100 years, 100-year project. But what's exciting about that is that they're open to working with small businesses, especially minority businesses. So of course, I'm on the media marketing side of that. So I already, put my stuff in, like, hey, listen, I'm raising my hand. I want to be a part of this. But when it comes to what you're saying, manufacturing and medicine, and healthcare, that's going to be huge. And it's a 100-year project. And
Hmm.
so I think they break ground later this year, early next year. But I think they bought 2,000 acres, and it's right here off of 316, and it's pushed back through Decula and I think parts of Brazelton. So I'm on Lawrenceville.
Okay.
I'm on one side of 316 in Lawrenceville. So it's right. It starts there and moves back. So there's a lot. I think there's going to be a lot of opportunities there. And when I sat in on that I'm calling it a focus group. I don't think it was a focus group, but that's what it seemed like to me when I sat in on there and they asked questions. So they asked me, what do you think we should see? And I was like, well, I think we should have, like, opportunities, because this is me always, opportunities for entrepreneurs, which they did that. I was like, okay, great. So they listen. But one of the things everybody else was saying, we want to make sure that we have housing. Some people said smart housing. One guy said, it'd be great to have a manufacturing company that did 3D printed housing, which I thought was amazing, because I had reached out to a 3D printer over in Russia. This was about 3 years ago when I first found out about 3D printing of housing, right? It's because you can print a house very quickly. 2 or 3 days, you got a house up. Now you just got to do the installation and all that stuff. But we don't have that kind of technology here. And I thought he said it. I had investigated it. As a matter of fact, I'm on somebody's email list and I get information all the time. But he said it, and I was like, so I had to raise my hand, like, I totally agree. Because for me, that's an opportunity to put people in homes, and that could also address our access to housing, fair housing, equitable housing, affordable housing. Because if you can print a house in 3 days and insulate and get the whole project up and running, that's a great space to be in when it comes to affordability. So I know that's where you are in manufacturing. I don't know what type of manufacturing, but I just wanted to throw that out there while it was top of my mind. So you might want to check into that, because I feel like that's a great industry. Now it's going to disrupt our real estate market, and you're probably going
Well,
to get some pushback, but people want it. He said it. I knew about it because I had did my homework, and there is actually a company, I want to say is in Austin. They have the machine right here in the States that can do it, and one in California that can pretty 3D print the houses. So that's where we're going. It's technology, but it's technology that can help a lot of people. So I just wanted to share that with you.
yeah, it's interesting. I'll keep an eye out on that. I'm sure we'll connect too, and just on that project. So that's pretty interesting.
Yeah, it is real cool. So I want to thank you. How can people how can they reach out to you to work with them? Because I feel like there are going to be a lot of people that see this and they're going to want to know, like, well, what do I need to do? How can I get started? How can they reach out to you? And I'm going to put your information in the chat here.
Okay. Yeah, you said you're going to put that in the chat, so that would be great. The best way really is just via email. And I'll give you my email. It's a little confusing on the back side, but it's R Taylor, Taylor at letter 4.
Wait, hold on one second. Wait a minute. My thing is spinning here.
Okay,
Okay. That's one. RTAYLOR at four, number 4.
right.
Mm-hmm.
The letter C, and then
See.
capital. So CAPITAL. So you're having 4C and then the word capital, CAPITAL, and then LLC.com. So there's 3 L's in the back and then 2
Okay.
C's in that front. Yeah.
Okay, got it. I got it
Got
right
it?
here. I got it. I got it. So let's just go ahead and hit the post on that. We're gonna do email first. So, this has been great. I really love the fact that you decided to come on with us. I would love it if you could, maybe we could sit down and talk about how we can work together. For those of you who don't know, I am the vice president elect for the Greater East Side Chamber of Commerce. So as always, I have to make sure that you guys know that we have a great chamber over on the east side of Gwinnett County. We service Snellville, Grayson, and Loganville, and we're going to be soon expanding to another town. I can't tell y'all what that is just yet because the president is on vacation. He has not given me the go ahead to do so. However, we are making plans to expand the chamber to further east. So that's been said. So hopefully, I can persuade Miss Taylor to come out and chat with our group. We meet twice a month in person. One is our brunch, which is the second, no, the fourth Tuesday of each month over at the Hampton Inn. I think that's going to be moving to Summit Chase soon. And then the other is our after hours event, which is the second and no first and third Monday, which is this coming Monday at Outback in Snellville. So if you guys want to come out, just go to mygecc.org and you can come out and spend some time with us and network, bring your cards, and have a good time and talk business. So thank you again so much for being my guest today. This has been amazing. I have some great ideas. I'm going to talk to you offline because I got some things I want to kind of pitch that we could probably do together. And thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. I am always an advocate. I love businesses. I love entrepreneurship. Coming from that side, and that's one of the things that makes um, us different, because most investors have not ran companies before, and I
Mhm.
have. So, I understand the seat that entrepreneurs are sitting in, and to offer the support to help them. It's just a passion of mine, and I'm also very passionate about minority and women-owned businesses, and really helping them to have access to what's necessary to help them to grow. So yes, I mean, whatever we can kind of put our heads together, collaborate. I'm for that all day long.
It's so funny. You said I've been a business owner, so I understand. I remember when I was in college, right? I had a business class, and my instructor was talking about entrepreneurship, and I said to him, "What business have you run?" He said, "I've never run a business." And I'm looking like, so what's wrong with this picture? Like, okay, you're teaching me how to be an entrepreneur, and you've never run a business. That was something wrong with that picture for me. So of course that did not work for me. But you're right about that. It's when you've gone down that, down that road, and when you've been in the trenches, and when you've been up late at night because you can't sleep, and
Well,
you have
yeah.
empathy for that entrepreneur when you have been in that space. Because I think for me, when I work with a lot of entrepreneurs, and I have people who tell me, Audrey, I don't work with startups. They tell me that I have friends who coach entrepreneurs, they would not work with startups. And they was like, I can't do it because I can't get down that low anymore. Me personally, I have a heart for them. So I get down in the trenches with them. And here's what happens. They tell two more people. So, it works for me. So that's what
Yeah.
happens. But thank you so much again. I want you to have a wonderful weekend. We got some beautiful weather. It's probably gonna rain again. That's been the craziest weather, y'all. Listen, I don't know what's going on. I feel like we're gonna have a horrible hurricane season because
Don't,
it's been
don't
raining
say
a
that.
lot. Okay, I
Don't
won't.
say that.
I won't say that. I won't say that. I won't say that. We're gonna have a beautiful no hurricane season. What you
There you go.
say, what you speak about, you bring about. Beautiful.
There you go. There you
All right,
go.
there it is. I gotta tell you this though before I go. I went to Montego Bay. Did I
Uh-huh.
tell you that before?
I don't know. I don't. Tell me the story.
I went to Montego Bay. That was the first time I had jerk chicken. I ate so much jerk chicken to when I came back, my stomach was in cramps. I ate jerk chicken every day, right? And then I had this little fruit. I don't know what kind of fruit that was. It was good, but when you eat it, it feels like you have wax all in your mouth. I don't know what that was. Do you know what that is?
They have wax all in your
it,
mouth.
it just feels very waxy in your mouth where you can just scrape off like after you eat the fruit. It was crazy. And that was the first time I had a coconut straight out of a cooler. They just chopped the
Oh,
top off and dropped the straw in. And I was like, this is amazing. And I was walking down the street holding a coconut, drinking out of a straw. So I had a great time in Jamaica, needless to say. And there's some other stuff, but I can't
nice.
share that with y'all. Can you share that with y'all?
That's
Not for this show. Not for this show. It's for after
I got
hours.
you.
No.
That's right.
But Renee, thank you so much. I will be in contact soon. Have a wonderful,
Absolutely.
wonderful weekend.
All right. Thank you.
All
Bye.
right.
Bye,
All
everyone.
right. Listen,
Bye.
guys, that's all I got for you today. I'll be back Monday. Monday, 10 a.m. 10 a.m. live. So make sure to tune in at 10 a.m. live because I'll be back on my regular schedule program, which is 10 a.m. live, all audio. Don't worry if you missed part of this episode. You can go to Good Morning Gwinnett in about 3 hours. It'll be up on the website under Power Players because she is listen, y'all saw her. She is a power player. So it will be up under the Power Player tab so you can watch it there. So don't worry if you missed any of it because it's recorded. And I'm gonna put it on the website pretty soon. You can get it at www.goodmorninggwinnett.com. That's where it's gonna be. So make sure if you missed it to go check it out there. I'll be back again Monday, 10 a.m. live on the podcast side. Next Friday, we got another Power Player coming on. So be sure to tune in again for another Power Player. You guys have a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful weekend. And until next time, my friends, until next time, make it a great day. Bye, y'all.